Okay. So I can't remember how this happened, if it just like showed up on my feed or if I saw some news or something, right? But so Martin Short, the legendary comedic actor, plays this character named Jiminy Glick. And the reason that Jiminy Glick has been in the news again is because he recently guest hosted for Jimmy Kimmel like a few weeks ago and revived this character for the first time, I think, in years. And so for the last several days, I've been going down like YouTube rabbit holes. So there are these clips from like the late 90s and early 2000s. He had like a TV show with this character. And then there are a few isolated ones over the years from like I think various political, like during elections and shit.
Yeah, or late nights or
Yeah, various late night appearances. But then so like 3 weeks ago or whatever, he came back for Kimmel. And there are several online of him. So there's like he's interviewing Bill Hader in one, Sean Hayes in another, and those are just separate. And then he on the actual show itself on Kimmel, he interviews Nick Kroll and Melissa McCarthy. Anyways, the point is Martin Short is a fucking genius, and Jiminy Glick is hilarious. So, anyways, Kyle, the reason this got started, right, as I was telling you just before we hit record, that I listened to my first Smart List, which is the famous podcast with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes hosting. And I listened to the Steve Martin Short one they did just a couple months ago because I've been on this Martin Short binge these last few days. And then, of course, I love him from Only Murders. But for anybody out there who has not watched like the Jiminy Glick stuff, definitely go and watch them. I think he has like some notes that he uses maybe like for specific references he wants to make. But I believe that they are generally just like improvised. And he is like shockingly fast and clever and hilarious. Like it's unbelievable. And you see these legendary comedians and comic actors and whatever, if you look at his videos from throughout the years, and he is just like constantly cracking them up and catching them off guard. And it's really amazing to watch. Like Bill Hader essentially just laughed for 5 minutes. like he couldn't even like say anything. He was just like cracking up the entire time. And so yeah, it's so funny. And so the Smart List episode was great. And so for those listening, Colin told us about this podcast ages ago. And I've been listening to more podcasts lately, so I finally listened to one. But I didn't know this was a thing, Kyle, that they do, but one of them chooses the guest for the week and then surprises the other two every time, which is like really cool. That's like a really fun idea. And so like, obviously Steve Martin and Martin Short are like massive legends. So I think it was Jason Bateman's guests. And so you hear Will Arnett and Sean Hayes like react genuinely, when they find out, and they were like super excited, right? It's like a big deal or whatever. So it was really fun to listen to.
Yeah, beginning of that show is great. The ending of the show is great too. You might not even have picked up on it because you've only listened to one episode, but they find a different way to say bye every single time.
Oh, okay. I noticed they were silly about it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've already figured out mine for today. So
that's amazing. Yeah, I mean that's the podcast we aspire to be. Three white men, but more popular.
Yeah. It was really sweet though. Yeah.
You guys ever listen to How Did This Get Made?
Yes, with Jason Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer and June Diane Raphael. Yeah, that's awesome too. I love them.
Sam got me into that.
Yeah.
I'll have to say sometimes I really like it when Jason goes crazy, and sometimes it just annoys me, but it's usually pretty good. And Sam and I actually saw an episode in town about a year ago when they came here.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was the like mid-2000s Dungeons and Dragons, which was just terrible. But lots of good audience interaction, lots of good with second opinions, second looks was really good. And then there was also like a running gag in the show where Jason Mantzoukas saw a baby in the crowd and he's like, "Ooh, can I have the baby?" Like he just kept going back to like, "Ooh, you guys don't say anything but the baby. If he has a question, I'll take the baby's question. I want the baby." And he just kept like throughout the show kept just saying, "I want the baby. I want the baby."
What a weirdo.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. What are you guys drinking tonight?
Yeah, what do we got?
I don't open mine yet. I got a couple cans. Ethan, I saw you,
Should
you
I
poured
go?
yours already.
I
What do you
did.
got?
I can go first. Yeah. So, yeah, I stopped at the store today, and I'm always trying to do local shit if I can. I will say, actually, really quickly before I talk about tonight's beer. So, okay, I'm going to be going on all these different asides and tangents. I keep remembering
That's
shit
okay.
that
I
I
like
want to
that.
say.
That's good content.
Okay, so so you guys obviously know that I was in Wyoming recently, and Matt had recommended. I don't know if this was, if we recorded this or if this was off the recording.
Melvin.
But Matt recommended Melvin. Now we did not go there in person, but we had stopped at this random like pizza joint basically near Grand Teton National Park one night, like as we were on our way to our hotel, and they had a Melvin IPA on tap, and it was delicious. So thank you for that recommendation, Matt. And also, I'm remembering the reason I'm like laughing about this because I'm bringing up Wyoming again. So brother Jeremy just recently had his birthday, and I called him and I told him, yeah, we just got back from Wyoming and blah 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 blah, and he's like, yeah, no, I know you were in Wyoming, and I was like, how did you know? And he's like, you mentioned it on the podcast like 3 times, and I was like, oh, really? I did not remember talking about it on the actual show, but apparently I did. Anyways, so I'm at the beer store today to get tonight's beer, and this just literally the closest liquor store to me, literally like 2 minutes up the road, carried a bunch of Melvin. I was like really surprised. Yeah, I guess they
have a decent distribution footprint. So like we get back in the day when I was in Ohio, we get 2 or 3 other beers at a time, which is nice.
No shit. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I was surprised. But for tonight's, I decided to go Colorado. This is one Matt has mentioned, but I don't think that I have had
Outer Range.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't know if I've had any Outer Range, but at least on Untapped, I haven't checked in on this one. It's In the Steep.
That's a good one.
An IPA. So I'm excited to go here because Matt, I think you have talked about it on the pod. It's in Frisco. It's like
Frisco,
in the mountains. Yeah. And so I'm sure it's about as beautiful of a location as a brewery can be. So I'm excited to get there at some point.
Wonderful, wonderful. Go there as you're driving up to Casey.
Oh, there we go. Oh my God, that'd be like a dream trip to go there and then get to Glenwood Springs too. Yeah,
because Casey's a little bit further up. So that'd be a good stop. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But yes, that's what I got tonight. What do you guys got?
Well, wait. Have you since you've been out there? Have you had any Montucky cold snacks yet?
No. Yeah, man. And that was the one you mentioned. That's like a thing up in. It's like
Rocky Mountain PBR.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it anywhere.
Oh, you've seen it.
Have I?
It's got like a unicorn on it. It's
Maybe
like a
I'm
bright blue
ignoring.
can with a unicorn.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the cheap beer sections. It's with the PBR.
Okay, and I don't look there very often. Okay, next time I go to this store, I'm gonna look.
I mean, you're gonna be disappointed.
Well, I feel like I need to try that, and I need to try like Old Aggie, that one we talked about that New Belgium does. Like I have to, as now that I'm a real Coloradan, I feel like it's my responsibility. So, yeah.
Colin, what do you got?
I think Matt, this came from you. When the light strikes the back of your eyelids, from Burial.
Nope, that's not me.
Not for me. Oh, okay.
No.
Man, I must have had it buried somewhere.
Who are they from, Col? It chopped out on me.
Burial.
Asheville. That's a Charlotte one, right?
Asheville. They got a Charlotte location
Charlotte now. Yeah.
Okay.
But Asheville originally.
I see.
It's a West Coast IPA, so definitely not something I drink as often these days. I gave it a 3.75. It's good. It's got like a lemony taste to it, almost, and it's not piney, but like I don't even know how to describe it. I don't
resinous, maybe some people say it's resinous.
I guess. It's just
I like Ethan's man. Yes, resin. Yes. Let me go put some resin on my.
Well, I feel like I know. I feel like I don't know why I feel like I know, but I feel like I understand what people are trying to say when they describe it as resinous.
I agree. I
think
the same thing. I couldn't tell you exactly if you tell me describe it in 10 words. couldn't tell you. But if you said this tastes resinous, I go, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, actually, here's my theory. I think what I'm doing is I'm relating it to dank because, and Brother Jeremy can correct us or not, but with like cannabis products, you can I think they call it resin. Like at the very end, there's like this like kind of powder that you can smoke if you want to, which I believe is like super strong. But so when I'm thinking of resin, I think I'm thinking of that, and so I'm thinking of like dank, which is kind of I don't know, how would you describe that, Matt? Like grassy, bitter, like plant, earthy. I don't know.
Plant, yeah, it's dank. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's got that.
If you've ever smelled really strong marijuana, just imagine what that tastes like. I feel like
happy
that's
weed.
Yeah.
Happy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, burial's good. I still would like to make it to one of the locations. I think I popped into their Asheville location, which was pretty cool. But I was down there for a wedding, so it was one of those like, hey, I'm gonna have a beer that I gotta go. But,
Yeah.
They make a really good, I think it's either a porter or a stout called Skillet Donut.
Yes.
It's always really good. And then peanut butter skillet donut. Ooh,
Oh, fun.
But there's some of their bigger stouts are really, really excellent as well. They're just like all really like weirdly named, like time hangs in the balance of 1,000 failing suns. Like I just made that up, but that could totally be a burial beer name. Like
they're all like super long, and then they have these like just really cool designs.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
To me, they're very random, but I'm sure they have some type of semblance to the beer. But who knows?
And what
do we do when the fire goes out? Like, no, that's a Gang of Youth song, but like it could, it also could be the name of one of their beers, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
But yeah, good,
amazing,
good stuff there. And they've really recently started making a lot more. Well, I've started trying a lot more of their lagers recently, which were very good.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, no beer for me tonight, just a glass of juice.
Oh, really?
No, of course this is beer. Where did I go this past weekend?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, really? Okay. I was gonna be very surprised.
See the picture that
no,
that
it got.
Sam put?
Well, yeah, I saw that. I was like, yeah, like a million fucking beers. But I thought maybe you drank too much this weekend and you wanted to take the night off.
No. I actually controlled myself fairly well this weekend.
Well, tell the people where you went.
Well, so first, this is Silver Fern, which is a New Zealand double IPA.
It looks delicious, dude.
It is just like juicy. Oh, that's great. And to follow it up in a bit, I've got a classic. I got a can of green.
Oh yeah, nice.
Because how can you not? And I think green is also actually like a mixture of Australian or New Zealand and just Galaxy. Okay, well anyway, but yeah, so I went to Treehouse. So I went to Beer Disneyland or Beer Disney World. Excuse me, it's the bigger one. It's Beer Disney World in Charlton, Massachusetts. So kind of just spontaneously, Sam and I were on Long Island this past end of the past week to see a concert, and we were at our destination Friday night and kind of debating like, well, like, do we drive back home? Like, do we go get dinner? Like, what do we do now? We're kind of at our final stop that we wanted to hit today. It's like 5:00, and we're just trying to figure out. Like, we went to there's a brewery that we like in Queens called Alewife, and they opened up a beer garden all the way out on the like North Fork of Long Island. And what we learned is like, oh well, the owner lives out there, has a house out there, and just hated the commute in, so he just started a beer garden out there, which is cool as shit too. So we sat at this cool beer garden and just had a couple beers and
that's fun.
Pulled up our phone and was like, wow, this normally I'm guessing like 3.5 hour drive is going to be like 5.5 or 6 hours to get home. So we were like, well, screw that. So we made the impromptu decision to continue out on the North Fork, hop on a ferry, cross the Long Island Sound, and get a cheap hotel in Connecticut for the night, and then go to Massachusetts the following day for Treehouse. So totally beer influenced. Glad that we were able to do some other stuff, like find in a couple restaurants to check out as well, but totally beer influenced. If the timing would have worked out, I would have loved to have seen Ethan there. We also thought about crashing your parents' place. I told Sam that if they're there,
Yeah, you
great.
could
If
have.
not, like, no problem. But we could have shown up and,
Yeah.
said hi to the Ertzes. But, yeah, so it's Beer Disney World, and it's huge. This is the third time I've been to that location.
Yeah, it's
First
an
time
awesome
during the day,
location.
though. The other couple times were like Thursday nights, randomly, like passing through the area. And this was a really nice summer day, and like I was really worried that it was going to be mobbed, which it was by the time we left. But when we got there kind of early and enjoyed our draft beers, and they had some food trucks, which we unfortunately passed on. We focused on just getting some beers and then getting my beer to go. And I'm making new friends in the neighborhood. And one of my neighbors that I bumped into last week saw me 2 weeks ago, saw me wearing the Waywood Beverage shirt that I own, which is the local beer store that's got a great selection. And we started talking about that. And then, I actually had other half in that car that day. And he's like, oh, that's just great. Like, and he just asked, like, have you ever been to Treehouse? And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, I love that place.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, me and my buds go up, like, we make a pilgrimage like once a year and fill the trunk up. And so I found myself on the ferry on Friday night texting my neighbor saying, hey, by some odd circumstances, I'm going to be at Treehouse tomorrow. What do you want? And he put in like a 2.5 case order, which good for him. Good for him.
Amazing.
Especially since we've talked like 3 times. I haven't even had a beer with a guy yet. We've only talked 3 times. But very awesome. Venmoed me right away. I even was like starting to panic because I ran out of fridge space. Because for the listeners, I bought like 6 cases worth of beverages. And so I was like, oh shit. Like, I don't have fridge space. I'm going to have to run to the store to get ice to keep this cold. Like, it all stayed cold in the car because I just kept it all together in the trunk and we drove straight back.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't want to ruin. Like, this guy just made an investment. This guy just spent, nearly $300 on beer.
Yep.
I want to make sure I keep his investment. But he was able to pop over and pick it up right away. And we've got a hanging engagement out there. One of these days, we're going to go have porch beers and get to know each other. Him and his wife and Sam and I. So,
that sounds fun.
They got a dog and a kid too, so I guess we'll get to know them too.
Yeah.
Soto, baby. Sorry.
Oh, good. Do you have the game on? It's on ESPN, or do you have?
My parents have
you
YouTube
have
TV.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, just to wrap it up, so the infamous picture is me with a hand truck with 5.5 cases of beverage on there.
Yes.
I will say 2.5 were for my neighbor. Another case or so was committed to my brother and my dad. Half a case was cold brew.
Oh, okay, that's
Sam
right.
got
Because they do that there, right? Treehouse
They've got
makes
cold
their
brew.
own. Yeah.
They've got mixed cocktails now. They've got sports drinks, like non-alcoholic rehydrating sports drinks that they're selling now. They've got alcoholic and non-alcoholic seltzers. Like, they got all sorts of stuff now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But I still have about 2 cases in the fridge now that I'm gonna, distribute to some friends. Ethan, if you want some, Colin, if you want some, let me know. Could get a box headed your way. I feel bad that you weren't able to join us, Ethan. So
it's okay. I mean, I'm gonna be going, rescheduling the Northeast trip for later this fall, so I might be able to make it up there. But
when you do, let me know.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, while we're talking about this, real quick, while we're talking about Treehouse, I know we've talked about Treehouse on the pod, I think multiple times at this point, but Matt, you especially have talked about their process and how, they are sort of like zealously, I don't want to say guarding everything because that makes it sound like they're miserly, and that's not what I'm trying to say, but they are very, very picky. They don't go to like all the big festivals. They don't ship, blah, 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 blah. And they say to drink fresh and to keep cold the entire time, right? Like,
yes.
They're really strict about it. Now, what I'm curious is, do you think if you had let some of these beers get if they didn't stay cold for like 24 hours, if there was like a 24-hour period where they warmed up, or even less, whatever, how noticeable of a difference do you think that would make in the taste?
The average beer drinker, probably not much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've shipped you Treehouse, right? Like,
yeah,
you've given me like that. Obviously, isn't staying cold as it's traveling in a USPS box.
Right.
as I shouldn't incriminate myself. But
Right. Yeah,
as
right.
it's traveling,
Theoretically,
to,
if it was in one of those.
theoretically,
Yeah.
yes. I'm shipping you collectible cans.
Yes, that's right.
But I think someone like the brewmaster would understand, or would understand. But he could tell the difference.
Yeah.
One of their kind of now the biggest what that is the reason, and it's kind of a myth. Beer can warm up and cool down, right? Like not every beer out there keeps the cold chain alive, but you'll see breweries out there, the Alchemist. Some of these slower to distribute breweries, the Alchemist, Fiddlehead out of Vermont's another one, Lawson's another one, where like if you agree to sell their beer, they make you keep it cold, and if they find you not keeping it cold, they will pull your contract.
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the idea being, if it warms up, again, it's not going to skunk the beer automatically, right? If it warms up for 24 or 40 hours, like that's not going to ruin the beer. But what it is going to do, it's going to accelerate the oxidation process that destroys the flavor compounds that the hops add to the beer.
I see.
So that's where the oxidation flavor that you get, that wet cardboard flavor. Like it's hard to describe, but when you drink an old IPA, right?
Right. Okay.
It kind of tastes just like generically bitter with a weird papery cardboardy taste to it. Like,
yeah.
And it doesn't matter what kind of IPA it is. You get to a certain point, and it's like, oh, this is sat in a hot warehouse somewhere for 3 months. Like, So that's the thing with the flavor and aroma components that come from the hop, the alpha oils, the alpha acids, alpha oils, like any sort of heat or poor canning, right? If there's oxygen introduced in the canning process, will accelerate that oxidation process and destroy the flavor. And that's why they're fanatical about it. That's why Hill Farmstead's fanatical about it.
Yeah.
That's why until they absolutely have to, until they have no other vector to grow, Treehouse is not going to distribute through other people. They're not going to sell anywhere else. They're not, because they want to control the quality of their beer, because they want to have it. They want to have you experience it at what they deem is the best quality. And the only way they feel like they can control it is either to give you a can that they can themselves, or to have you have it on draft at their place.
Yeah.
The very, very early days, some local accounts near Monson would get draft kegs. I don't think that happens anymore.
Wow.
And so, again, you saw Hill Farmstead do the same thing, right? Hill Farmstead had like super strict growler rules, and they had a very, very strict protocol to fill growlers. Other Half is known. Other Half does an incredibly good job canning their beer, right? Like there is no contaminants, there is no spare or oxygen getting. Like they do a very good job of controlling it to make sure that if it's in that package, it's going to be as fresh as possible to you. Get a good seal, make sure there's no oxygen leakage, make sure that you've got, if you ever see beer being canned, everyone will allow it to overflow the top, and then they'll put the lid on the can while the beer is overflowing, because if the beer is overflowing, you are displacing all the oxygen out of there. So there is no oxygen if it's foaming over, and then put the top on, the carbonation will equalize and it'll be absorbed back into the liquid, and there will be no oxygen in there. And that's why you see one of the ways to tell if a beer in the store is compromised or not is give it a squeeze, right? It should be firm. If it's firm, that means it's pressurized still. It means there's no compromise of the seal anywhere. If you feel a flimsy can, there's a chance, well, either A, it's not a carbonated drink, which then don't worry about it. But B, that means there's a compromise, right? And that's something that's gone wrong. Same thing with looking for kind of bulging cans, that kind of stuff. So anyway, the Treehouse is fanatical about it. And they're following the Other Half expansion mode right now. Other Half is not building a massive brewery anywhere. The Other Half is building small regional breweries that get you that draft beer as fresh as they can to you. Like that is the model, right? They don't want to scale up. They don't want to deal with trying to figure out how to scale. And Treehouse did scale up because the demand at their own brewery was so big, but they're not going to build a Budweiser size brewery. They're going to build as many smaller breweries as they can, which is why they own Charlton and Deerfield and Tewksbury and Sandwich and the place in Connecticut that I can't remember.
And isn't there a Cape Cod one too or something?
That's Sandwich.
That's
Massachusetts.
Sandwich. Okay.
And now they're opening one in Saratoga, New York. Like that's why Other Half is doing, DC, Philly, 2 locations in New York City, Rochester, Canandaigua, Buffalo, and now Chicago, right? Like they want to control how you get that beer because they want you to have that experience as fresh as possible. So,
right. Fascinating.
Anyway.
Yeah. Love it. We all understand now. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I got my new Treehouse glass. Drinking
fun.
Their Fern series is an IPA series or a New Zealand IPA series, which is excellent. You'll also see the other thing. Sorry to just keep going. Treehouse is kind of fanatical quality, dedication. They don't chase the fad styles as much, right? Like just last year, I think, or 2 years ago, was the first time they released a triple ever. Mm-hmm. Last year was the first time they released a milkshake beer, because they want to kind of figure it out. They want to know. They want to dial it in as much as they possibly can. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Anyway, I feel like they do a good job of not being pretentious about it either. Yeah, they are hoity-toity. They are kind of the cream of the crop. But it's a fanatical dedication to quality beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta respect it.
And if you ever want to be even more impressed and jealous, just go on their website and look at the benefits they offer their employees.
Oh, really? They actually treat their workers well too?
Holy shit, they do.
Okay.
Nice.
Amazing. Wow.
2 free draft beers and 2 free cans per shift. That's 50% off all merchandise for personal consumption, like beer and merchandise included. A $750 annual pay card to spend on beer, like your birthday off, pet insurance, good 401k, dental, vision, like all sort, like an employee resource program, mental health support, like holy crap.
Wow.
Like,
amazing.
Like you look at that and you go, okay, yeah, I'll pay $5 for this beer in a can. Like, fuck yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just goes to show it can be done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking.
In the hospitality industry.
Yep. Pete Alonso just hit a 2-run shot apparently, and
it was a bomb.
Yeah, and the Mets are now up 3-2. Who's pitching tonight, Kyle?
Garrett.
Cole.
It is Cole.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Just put the cutter right down the middle of the plate.
Yep. That'll happen.
Yep. So I wrote a column today on the impending return of. Well, I know Ethan and I love probably our favorite pitcher of the adult eras of our lives. Matt, I don't know if he's quite up as high for you, but Clayton Kershaw returns
love
possibly for his final season with the Dodgers tomorrow, or in baseball in general tomorrow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that article, a little bit earlier today, and I don't know when this other thing happened, but I noticed on the bottom line when I was watching the Yankee game that Trout had to come out of his rehab assignment.
Jesus Christ.
Due to soreness in his right knee, and I think he was supposed to come back today, actually, or something like that. But it is just crazy how that town. I mean, obviously, we know geographically Anaheim and Los Angeles are not the same city, but they try to act like the Dodgers and the Angels play in the same city. Major League Baseball does, that is.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels are so fucking cursed.
It's really depressing.
Unbelievable. And then, the Dodgers, I mean, it could have gone better for them over the last 10 to 12 years or so. They could have won maybe 1 or 2 other championships and whatever, but like getting Kershaw back, and hopefully he's going to be as effective as he's been with, diminished stuff, but still pretty good.
I mean, he was good last year. I was just double checking to see. I mean, he was still although it looks 22. Like he might have been lucky. His FIP was pretty high, his fielding independent pitching.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, his ERA plus was 177.
Like nothing personifies it better than Albert Pujols leaving the Angels to then be signed as a free agent for the Dodgers. It just raking. absolutely raking for the second half of a season.
Yeah,
Yep.
something is wrong
Absolutely.
with the
That's a
fucking
great point,
Angels.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah. I mean,
God.
when's the last large contract they've doled out that worked out? Right, like you can't count Otani because he wasn't a large contract. Rendon is terrible. Maybe John Lackey. I don't know. Was he even was he even a big contract for them?
Right.
Troy Gloss. I don't know. Like I'm pulling Garrett Anderson. Those
Garrett
are kind
Anderson.
of I'm pulling it.
You're going back like 15 years.
Tim
Salmon.
Tim Salmon.
Yeah.
Jim Edmonds was he was an Angel, right?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he left for the
For
free
the
agency at
Cardinals,
the
right?
yeah, for the Cards, yeah.
Like there's not really anyone I could think of that's been like who signed there and has been a shining star. Like you got 2 good years of Pujols.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Remember when Mo Vaughn went there? That was supposed to be a big deal, and he basically was done.
move on.
Move on.
Yeah. I mean, they've
God.
had their share of
I mean,
success.
they won the pennant in 2022, or excuse me, 2002, right? Didn't they?
the World Series in 2022 or 2002.
Yeah, they won the pennant, but
World Series.
they
in
won. They
2002.
actually won the World Series that year.
The year that Bonds went crazy in the World Series, they beat them.
Man, I totally
That
forgot.
was the rally monkey.
Okay, the rally. So all right, so you know what? Hey, they have the same number of worlds. Wait, do they? It depends on if we count the year 2000. Have we talked about this? Do we count 2000 as part of the 21st century? Okay, all right.
I do, because everyone was freaking out in 1999.
Right, right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, Y2K. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's a different decade.
Yeah.
Just like 2020 is its own. Like, that's going to be when they
It's
do.
part of the
you know how
2020s.
CNN would do those like decade documentaries and whatever. 2020 will be included in the 20s, not in the 2010s or the aughts or whatever it's called.
Right.
Okay,
right.
I did think of a free agent signing that worked out well for them.
Okay.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Those were those good teams like in the mid to late aughts. 2004
to 2009 with the Angels.
Yep.
Oof. 4 All-Star years.
Yeah, I mean, basically from 02 to I want to say about 09, 10, they were pretty good, getting in the playoffs, and they beat the Yankees a couple times in 02, in 05. I think we beat them in 09 on our way to the World Series, but
and Vladdy won the MVP his first year of the deal
in 04.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one.
So it's the curse of Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah. Maybe the Blue Jays trade Junior to Anaheim and he resurrects the sordid past.
Yeah, go from one loser franchise to the next.
I mean, but I guess I kind of root for both of them, but the Blue Jays are in a division, so screw them. But like,
yeah. The Blue Jays, the only person I root for is Don Mattingly as the bench coach. They are so pretentious. It drives me crazy, that organization. Like, ugh.
The Blue Jays?
Yeah.
Fuck the Blue Jays.
Can't stand them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
They're wasting. I feel like they are like the White Sox of a few years ago. They're like they're wasting all of this talent and not fully putting it together. I mean, there's still time.
They've tried,
but
they've tried.
Yeah.
They've just made the wrong moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the White Sox talent like panned out. I think part of what's happening in Toronto is, hey mama.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Toddy.
What's up? Just dropping off some popcorn.
Nice.
Same.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Nice deck. I like it.
Nice deck. Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I love
can
it.
see it probably was picked out by you, and like it's got your signature all over it. Colin doesn't, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. So I'm just going to shut up.
You could tell by like the metal rods and
Yeah,
everything.
the design elements point to someone who knows their stuff, and that's got to be you.
Knows how to spend money? Yes.
Correct.
knows what a good deck looks like. I can't
That's
wait to
right.
enjoy some brews with you guys on there.
I can't wait either.
It's gonna be great.
I'll let you all return to your man talk.
Man talk. That's gonna be the new name of the podcast. Man talk.
I was hoping for merge talk, but okay, man talk.
Matt's still holding on to that.
I actually went on a rant about merging lanes just the other day. Yeah, so it's still still near and dear.
So speaking of that, the fucking Merritt Parkway in Connecticut. How do you merge on that? You don't. They don't give you space. They need to tear that whole thing down.
Yeah.
Fuck the little 5-person Dunkin' Donuts and the 2-stop mobiles there. Get rid of them. Get rid of that whole parkway. Make
the Marriott Parkway is insane. Yeah.
Like the whole time I'm like, I don't want to be on this. I don't want to be on this. I hate 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 like it's almost
I just never
it's the Long Island Parkway.
I just never stop. Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible.
And they're so small. There's like 6 parking spaces.
I know.
So it's like
insane.
5 people getting donuts and 2 people taking a shit, and then like no one. There's no other nowhere to go. You got to get back on the parkway, but you have 3 feet to merge.
Yep. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. Yeah, no doubt.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You laugh, Colin. I can't wait for the first time you drive on the Merritt Parkway. The dumbest piece of crap.
Purposely.
Yeah. The real trick, what you need to do is you need to just drive like late at night. So that's what, my last several trips when I was still living in the DC area and I would go home to Connecticut to visit my family. Now, granted, I'm a big night owl, so it works out for me. It wouldn't work out for you guys as much, I suppose. But like I would leave at like 5 or 6 p.m. so that I would get home to Connecticut at my parents' house like 1 a.m. or something like that. Now, for me, that was totally fine. I'm like wide awake that whole time because that's normal hours for me. But then you end up driving the Merritt Parkway, 9, 10, 11 p.m., whatever. And then it's easy. And even if you had to pull off onto one of those dinky Dunkins, there's nobody on the road. So it's fine.
There's only one person taking a shit. So there's like, there's some space there. Yeah.
But no, it's like I feel like it's like a relic of another time or something. It's like maybe that road was enough in the 1950s or something. But yeah, it is not equipped to handle modern day traffic. I mean, I always hit bad if I didn't leave super late, I always hit bad traffic on that road regardless. Yeah. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's the relic of the time where there's a black and white film saying the automobile will revolutionize American travel.
Yes. I love the what they call it, the transatlantic accent, that early to mid 20th century thing that and Matt just did it, and it's like if you watch movies or you see like news broadcasts from back in the day, I don't know what Americans were doing, but they fabricated a brand new accent for media. And that's like a thing. Like you can go and read about the transatlantic accent, and it's not like a real accent that is native to some specific region of the country, as far as I understand.
I didn't realize that was a thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyone who hears it will instantly recognize it.
Oh, yeah. I think people immediately get transported and they can totally picture, mid 20th century America or whatever. But yeah, it's like a whole thing.
Well, I mean, the 3 of us are old enough to still remember like we were still around, not even overhead projectors. At least at Chestnut. I don't know about you guys at your fancy Liverpool middle school, but we still watched. I had teachers who still showed film reels with the accompanying recording that you'd have to have some kid in the class with the button. So every time it went boop, they'd hit the button and it would go to the next film slide. Do you guys ever watch
I don't know if I remember this. Yeah, I don't know if I remember.
So so the teacher, Mr. Van Hoover, would set up a film a projector, not like your little slide projector, but an actual crank-filled projector on a spool, and then he'd go over and play a record, and every time the record went boop, someone sitting next to the projector would have to index it 1 frame forward.
Oh, that's really funny. Wow.
Yeah, I still remember that. So, I don't know.
Fucking Chestnut. Oh, my God.
I know. Hey, but
amazing.
remember, when we graduated, something like 4 of the last 5 valedicts had come out of Chestnut. So
pretty impressive. Yeah, how did that happen? It's ridiculous.
Something in the water. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, what were we talking about before that? I don't know.
Well,
Parkway.
I want to steer this into a direction that
Good, we do need direction.
Yeah. Ethan might think this is a slam dunk of a topic, but Matt, and the listening audience, please get your popcorn out because I don't know if it's going to be as much of a slam dunk as he thinks it is. But so we have a group thread, which is unsurprising. And last night, Ethan texts both of us, and he's like, "Kyle, did you listen to the podcast?" And for those of you who don't know, the podcast is the podcast, a friend of the podcast, Joe Poznansky. A lot of pauses in there. And he does it with indirect friend of the podcast, I guess, Michael Schur. And so I hadn't listened to it yet. And I asked him, I was like, what am I listening for? And he's like, you'll know when you hear it. And so I listened this morning while I'm out running. They are talking about well,
hold on, time out. So I didn't say anything about this being a slam dunk for our podcast. I wasn't saying.
But I think you think that when I heard this, I was gonna be like super impressed, and
I thought you were just gonna be happy for me because you would know that I would be wine rack excited about it. That's all I thought.
Okay. Well,
that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
I mean, there's
that.
Definitely those feelings there, and we're getting ahead right now. But they open the podcast by talking about their switch from Metal Arc, which is Dan Lebatard and all these guys that used to work at ESPN basically, and started their own media company, and they moved it over to Substack, and so they have like a separate. Joe has his Joe blogs, and then he has a separate newsletter for the podcast. And they've been like a month since they made the change or
something
whatever.
like that.
Yeah, relatively 3-4 weeks or so. And one of the things that is cool about it is Substack has a pretty cool chat feature, for example, and they were like, okay, well, if you sign up, if you subscribe, blah, 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 all the money goes to charity, yada, yada, and everything. And then recently they were like, if you put your name in the chat, we will read it on the podcast and we will tell you who we think you should be.
Like what sport you should play or whatever, this, what team you should be on, whatever, this kind of a thing. Yeah.
And so, they're going through it, and I'm thinking, all right, Ethan probably submitted his name or whatever. And Ethan, I'll let you tell this part, and then I'll tell you like what my reaction was and okay. Why. Yeah.
So people need to understand that this is classic podcast stuff. Okay. So now the podcast has a devoted, loyal following, but I would say it's not for everybody, right? They talk about a lot of like bullshit, right? Their final segment is called One Last Meaningless Thing to End This Meaningless Thing. Right. So like, and they even had a song made up of it, and they're very honest, and they joke about it all the time. They're like, we have no idea why any of you are listening to this, blah, blah, blah. They did a thing. Yeah, Matt.
Joe told us that we need to be more silly.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, and do more weird shit.
Yeah. Like, and actually, Colin, I don't know if we have talked about this, but so what they have now done, they've done this twice. They did it around the holidays in 2023, and then again this year. They literally did several podcast episodes where they opened up old baseball cards and talked about it. And those are some of my favorite episodes ever. This is an audio medium, right? We can't even see the fucking cards. Right, that they're talking about, and they would joke about it all the time. They're like, "Oh, this is such great podcast content. Like we're opening up baseball cards from the 1980s or whatever." I loved those episodes; they were amazing. Point is, they do, they do a lot of really silly shit. So, a couple of episodes ago, they were randomly talking about like baseball, and they got off on this tangent where they were talking about baseball players' names and like who they should be. Like they talked about how Nolan Gorman is like the perfect, it personifies like a Cardinals player's name, right? And they went off on this whole thing and they just picked a bunch of random names and did this. So then as Colin was saying, as part of the new Substack and to raise money, they're like, okay, if you submit your names, we'll do it. So anyway, so they released this newest episode, and I submitted my name. I didn't think it was actually going to get chosen because I don't think that my name is that exciting. There were some other names on the Substack thread that were like very interesting names, and I was like, oh, I mean, Ethan Ertz is boring, no chance, right? So I'm listening, I'm driving, and all of a sudden I hear Joe Posnanski go, Ethan Daniel Ertz, and I'm just like, my mind is fucking blown. And then for the next 2 minutes, okay, so all right, the other thing, just to remind people now, those who our longtime listeners know that when we had Joe Paz on the show a while back, especially those who know the visuals, or even I think they probably heard it in my voice, I was wine rack excited, right? Like I was freaking out. I could not fucking believe it. Like
Ethan had to call his physician because he had an erection lasting longer than 4
hours. Exactly. It was insane. It was insane. I couldn't believe, like, and I will forever be grateful to Colin for this. Like, I couldn't believe that Joe Posnanski, that we got to meet him, that he came on this fucking show that we do, right? So anyway, so the podcast is like my favorite thing. Joe Paz is my favorite nonfiction writer. Mike Schur is my favorite Hollywood creator. He's the creator and showrunner of Parks and Rec, which is my favorite show of all time. Blah, blah, blah. Point is, podcast is my favorite thing. So then for 2 minutes on this most recent episode, two of my favorite people ever, Joe Paz and Mike Schur, are just riffing on my name and what they think it should mean. And so it was just delightful. It was just amazing. It was like literally a highlight of my fucking life. And I know that that's going to sound crazy to some people, but when I love stuff, I love it hard, right? And I love Joe Paz's writing. I love what Mike Schur does. So like, you know, I'm obsessed, right? So anyways, Colin, should I talk about what they came up with for my name, or was that part of yours? Okay.
No. Yeah,
so
I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing they said is that they agreed that they needed to ignore the fact that I share a last name with Zach Ertz. And actually, are there two Ertzes in the NFL? Because I thought Mike Schur said two.
I didn't know who they were talking about.
I didn't know who his second one was, but I know about Zach Ertz. And they're like, so we have to ignore that, even though it's spelled wrong, right? Because obviously my last name is spelled differently than his. But they were like, but we need to ignore that. We need to pretend they're different because the last names are spelled different, blah, blah, blah. But then Mike Schur is like, but I have to say that Ethan Ertz to me sounds like an offensive lineman from the Big Ten, which was already like hilarious because, obviously you guys know me, right? So like it's hilarious to imagine that. Now, see, the thing that's deceptive about this is that, when you see my last name Ertz, right, it's Germanic. Like it definitely does conjure, I think, certain images, but it's misleading because, of course, as you all know, I ended up much more like a Tenzer, which is my mother's side of the family, right? The nerdy, neurotic Jewish side, of course. But if you just see my name, Ethan Ertz, you're not going to know that. Anyways, so then Joe Paz says, what I was thinking is that he actually would be the wrestling coach at the University of Iowa. And then they go on, yeah. And then they just start riffing off of that. Mike Schur's like, ooh, I like that, right? And then they start talking about it, and they decide that, like, Ethan Ertz is the guy who took over after some like legendary coach at University of Iowa and ended up having a lot of success, but kept getting compared to the previous legendary coach and was like, all I can be is Ethan Ertz. All I can do is just be Ethan Ertz, and they just like keep riffing on it. And they're like, yeah, Ethan Ertz, he's had a lot of success. Like the program it's going really well, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, this is what they did for everybody's names, right? They came up with all of these different scenarios, and that was just what they came up for my name. But it was just amazing. It brought me so much joy. I can't even tell you. So So yeah, it was awesome.
Do we need to do the reverse? Do we need to riff on their names? Because to me, Joe Posnanski sounds like a line cook at like
a Polish
greasy
restaurant.
Spoon. No, I wasn't going to go that far.
Yeah, okay.
Although I am imagining him like forking out a bratwurst from like some grayish bratwurst water that of questionable origin. But I was just going to say like a line cook at a greasy spoon.
Okay.
Like, Joe, like 2 more orders of eggs Benny, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Mike Schur to me feels, unfortunately, and I know you guys really like him, Mike Schur just sounds like I don't know, a pencil salesman.
Well, he was a writer on The Office, and he played Mose, Dwight Schrute's cousin on The Office. Okay. So there's kind of a funny relationship there.
I almost said toothpick salesman, but I decided pencil
toothpick salesman.
So he just that's just what like it sounds like to me. Mike Schur.
Yeah.
Can I offer you some toothpicks?
Yeah. So. I like it.
100%. So, yes, I thought it was a great segment, and I just thought it was ironic that they picked the Big Ten, and obviously I'm a big Penn Stater and everything. So
Ethan Hurst, the Penn State
Iowa
offensive
wrestling,
lineman.
No. Ethan wouldn't be at Penn State though. He'd be at like Rutgers.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
You know,
All
it'd
right.
be,
But Iowa wrestling is really good.
Yeah.
I figured that's why they
in
mentioned it.
Well, in the midst of this Penn State wrestling dynasty, I think Iowa's the only one to kind of break through, and like Penn State's won like.
Penn State has like a wrestling dynasty. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Pennsylvania. Ooh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're like incredible, and Iowa won I think in like 22 or something like that.
Yeah. Usually Iowa or Iowa State are the only names you hear in the same conversation as Penn State.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
kind of like no matter what team you wrestled for in Central New York, if you weren't on Fulton, you weren't going to win. Fulton.
Okay.
Fulton won everything every year. Doesn't matter like how big your school was. Doesn't matter how big you were, how strong. Like if it was Fulton, they won. Just because I don't know. Maybe something
in the water there.
Something in the water there.
Well, incest apparently leads to really good wrestlers. So
I mean, there's that lake in Fulton that's like super polluted, not by humans, by algae.
It's the Nestle chocolate factory that was there.
When we were kids, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to Chocolate Fest up there, but yeah, it's Lake Niatahuanta, where like you can't even they don't swim in it, don't go on a jet ski.
I didn't even know they had a lake. Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, you don't see it because but it's right there. It's right there. But yeah, it's like algae poisoned.
Wow,
like it's really bad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember Chocolate Fest though. Or if you were driving through town at just the right time, it would just smell like chocolate.
Oh yeah.
By the way, if you guys haven't been up there, that whole chocolate factory is just demolished now.
I was going to say it closed years ago, right?
Yeah, there's like an Aldi's. Well, it closed years ago, and then like a Ivory Coast business conglomerate bought it and got a bunch of tax credits from the state to try and make chocolate there again. And I don't think they ever did.
Interesting.
So now it's flat, and then there's an Aldi's, I think there.
I do like Aldi.
Maybe yeah. There's the Aldi's. Yep, there's an Aldi's and a McDonald's. That's about it.
Yeah.
So
sad. Well, Ethan, so I want you to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be a part of the podcast, like the newsletter, what do you have to do? What are the qualifications?
So, unless they changed it, my understanding is all you have to is you can subscribe for free if you want, and you will get whatever. I don't even know what they're going to end up doing, right? So far the only thing they've done is this names thing, but they said when they set it up, we're going to figure out some fun stuff to do especially for like the paid subscribers. But like the point is you don't have to pay. I did because like I'm happy to, right? All of their net proceeds go to charity, and like we've talked about, I mean, the number of hours of joy I've gotten from that podcast over the years, like I'm happy to throw $60 for a year or whatever, right? Whatever it was. But there is a free level of subscription, and then I think they're just going to do some special things here and there. At least that's the plan, supposedly, for the paid subscribers.
Okay, Matt, you got that popcorn ready?
Uh-oh.
So I was hoping you went this way because I wanted to ask you, and I just had to check to confirm on my end, but you are a paid subscriber to the podcast.
Yeah.
Me? I'm not.
No.
Okay, sorry.
You're Matt, you are an audience member right now.
Oh, okay.
This is just me and Ethan.
Okay.
On my Substack, and I can show you if you want, you are a free subscriber. While Matt here, Mensch Matt, is not only a paid subscriber, but a founding member.
Okay, I've actually thought about this. I've thought about this lately.
And wait. Before you give your retort, I just want to let you know that yes, I understand the money goes to charity, blah blah blah. The money goes to charity. It might as well go to charity for me as well because it's going to diapers and shit for my 2 kids. But I have more. I have more to this little bit that I'm getting into. But go ahead, say what you have.
Well,
to say.
I was just gonna say, I did think about that. I was like, I really should do the paid subscription for Colin, and I just for whatever reason it keeps I keep thinking of it when I'm not near like my computer or whatever, and then I don't do it. But in my defense, I did buy you that Stephen King book a few weeks ago, so
it's true.
I mean, that wasn't as much as like a year's pay, I think, right? I'm mostly just kidding.
In a
but-
year's pay of my Substack is about half of what you paid for the podcast.
Now, Colin,
Yeah.
has he shared any of your Yardbarker articles?
He is not.
I don't
No.
do that shit. You guys know this. I don't.
I don't
fucking-
either. I don't either. But when Colin writes a Cleveland article, you better believe I'm writing it.
Well,
I know
because all your
I've got an
Cleveland
audience
people.
of Clevelanders
Yeah.
that can help him. So
Yeah.
I'll like Colin, spot on right here.
Right.
Share.
See,
Like-
but see, here's the thing. Anybody who looks at my shit, like on Instagram, which is where I'm most active, it's all like a bunch of music nerds. Like, they don't give a shit. I mean, maybe I'll start sharing anyways, but like most of these people, I don't think they care or know anything about baseball.
I mean, I'm
but-
just giving you shit.
No,
but,
I
you
know.
Yeah. So like I have a real legit question that both of you, I would, if you have any advice or whatever. So, like you said, Ethan, with this new podcast thing, you can be a free subscriber. You can be a paid subscriber. Did they pick your name for the actual podcast episode because you're a paid subscriber? Maybe. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, I don't
whatever.
know if they
So
were choosing.
maybe
yeah, I'm
that's
not
like
sure.
a little perk,
Right.
to it right now, whatever. But the point is, like, you can still listen to the podcast without being a subscriber or paying any money or anything like that. There are similarities in the sense that, like, my Yardbarker columns or anything I write on Substack, which I also share on my Yardbarker columns or anything I share on Substack, which I also share my Yardbarker columns, it's all free. So technically, you do not have to pay to read anything that I write. But, like, morally speaking, it would be nice to be paid, for what I do, and everything. But, like, I'm not a great salesperson when it comes to that type of stuff. Like, if it was you two, I'd be like pushing it all the time. I'd be like, fuck, sign up for Matt, you get your brewery. I'm going to be your number one fucking woo boy out there. Like,
I'm hiring you.
It's going to happen.
We talked about this.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind that I will be able to help you sell shit for that.
And I'll give Ethan gigs for as many times as he subscribed to your podcast. If he subscribes to your Substack, excuse me. If he subscribed 2 years in a row, that's 2 gigs. Like, just kidding. Just kidding.
And so it's like, I'm not a great salesperson, and I'm trying selfishly to talk about it right now. And I'm actually very close to having a total rebrand done. A woman that I'm working with, where I want to say like 95% of the way. So if you go to my website, cernig.com, and you look at it, it's pretty much rebranded. And it'll bring you to Substack if you want to do that as well, and everything. But I'm like, how do I say it how do I say it on a podcast? How do I write about it? How do I post about it on social media, like, in a way that's not like used car salesperson talk?
Exactly what you're doing now.
When it's like
exactly what you're doing now.
But, like, how often can I go on social media and post a video and say, like, hey, I've got 2 kids I need to put diapers, or 1 kid I need to put diapers on at this point, but and pay for food and and everything like that. And, like, this is my career now. Like, I have fully pivoted from talent acquisition, which I spent a decade doing and everything, to being a writer. I'm working on a book. I'm writing for Yardbarker. I get paid like pennies for doing that, but it's at least something, and whatever. Like,
it's a portfolio.
And I don't feel right about, like, I tried out the model of, like, Ethan, Joe has a paywall on pretty much all of his columns. Every once in a while he'll do a free one, but he's a way bigger writer. He can afford to do that. It just didn't work out for me. I want people to have access to my stuff. If they can't afford it, I totally get it. I'm in that position, personally, but I'm like, how do I just, I don't know, not even drum up excitement, but, like, literally get people to understand, like, this is my livelihood. It would be great if you could spend $35 for a year to support my writing. And if you hate it, then don't sign up next year. Or whatever. But, like, $35 at the end of the day for a full year isn't a lot of money, for most people. I understand circumstances are different for everybody, but that's like kind of what I'm struggling with right now. Like on top of just acquiring new readers anyway, people who will regularly follow me, but the people I have way more free subscribers than I have paid subscribers, and it's like, how do I convert them from a paid or from a free to a paid? Like that's something I'm trying to figure out right now.
Hey, like the band that's going to play to a room of 10 the same way they play to a room of 1,000, right? Keep grinding, keep putting your best product out there.
And that's what you tell me all the time. I appreciate it.
I mean, but to be honest, it's very easy to say. Like the easiest thing to do is say that, right? Like keep at it.
Yeah. I mean, so I was looking something up that this all reminded me of, because it's really a difficult question, and it's part of the reason I find social media so distasteful, as you both know, and I and I like, for instance, it would be probably really helpful for myself if I were to be more proactive about like certain things on various internet things to try and get students here in Fort Collins or whatever, right?
Sure.
But like I hate that shit, and I haven't done anything like it. So what I was looking up is there's this relatively well-known musician named Amanda Palmer who kind of well-known in like indie punk world, and was married to Neil Gaiman for a while. They recently divorced. And she wrote a book a number of years ago called The Art of Asking, where she talks about this. And I was looking it up.
What's her name? Amanda what?
Amanda Palmer. Now, Kyle, don't buy the book. I would say get it from the library if you decide you want to check it out. Because I was just looking up some reviews of it, and it's pretty mixed. So I don't know if it would actually be that helpful or not. But like, basically, what it made me think of, though, because I have, I have followed her like on Facebook for years now, and occasionally I'll read some of her posts where she talks about this, and it can be pretty interesting. It's kind of good food for thought, where like, because I think there are ways to do this where it doesn't come off as like gross and desperate, right? I think there's a lot of people who are like manipulating things in such a way where it's like really obvious and it feels gross. But then I think there are some people who are like just really genuine and honest and being like, hey, this is how it works. Like, I need money. Please pay me for my work or whatever. And it comes off as just, very genuine and authentic. And I think people, a lot of people are more inclined to support it. In your case, I would think that if you were to do some sort of honest, genuine appeal like that could be a way to do it. You also could look at, there's this other guy named James Fell who I follow, who, he's gotten a really big following on the internet because he's kind of funny, but he has like self-published a couple of books about history. On this day, shit went down in history. Like, he's famous for writing like stuff with lots of swearing in it, right? He's funny and he swears a lot, right? And he talks about history or whatever. But he does a lot of posts where he talks about like, please buy my book or whatever. Like he's pretty good about it. I wonder if you were to look through some of his stuff, I wonder what you would think. I'm not saying that you would want to model yourself exactly after him, because your deal is different, right? He has like a very distinct shtick. And that's not what yours is. But I do wonder if kind of the directness of his approach might be appealing in some way.
If you go to his about page on his Substack, he goes, fucking pay me, please. Paid subscribers help fund the free stuff, but that's socialism.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him a lot.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, even the Electric Six approach, where it's like, please go to our merch table and buy our latest album. We need a way to make it to our next tour stop, please. Like yeah, it's funny, but it's also genuine.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this supports us more than anything else you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of times, even though I had already purchased the digital version of the album, I would always go to the merch table and buy a T-shirt or a vinyl copy of the record just because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a whole bevy of Electric Six shirts.
Yeah, it's hard though because like this whole world, right? So like, the Electric Six example, obviously, I think we've talked about this before, but for musicians nowadays, it's totally different than it was, say, when we were kids and for the decades before that, because it used to be that musicians would, they would make like the brunt of their income from selling records, from selling CDs, whatever. And that's just not a thing anymore. And then with like writers, and Joe Paz has written about this a bunch over the years because he's bounced around from all, through all sorts of different things for the last 10, 15 years. Writers, and granted, I think this is part of how he built such a following back in the day, but it used to be that you could get attached to some big newspaper or ESPN.com, like Bill Simmons when we were a kid, whatever, and you would be able to build this massive audience from that. And the platform itself already has a big audience and has money, and so you could make a good living. Nowadays, like, yeah, Bill Simmons and Joe Paz are still really successful, but that's because they had all of those years where they could rely on a stable platform and they built this massive following. So now you have people like who will spend whatever on Joe Paz on his Substacks, and he can make a living just from that. But for somebody like you, Kyle, somebody in our generation who didn't have that, it's like really difficult. And I imagine that there are other resources. I bet you there are other like millennials or Gen Zers who have like written books about it. Might be worth looking into. But I also wonder, like, we are all doing this subscription model now. And so whether it's like Substack subscriptions or whether it's like, all of the TV streamers, your Netflix, Hulu, blah, 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 all of them, right? Like, where are people going to hit their line? You know what I mean? Because that shit, like, it all adds up. And I mean, it's one thing, wealthy people, sure, they can do it all regardless, but a lot of people who are, middle class, lower middle class, poor, want access to these things. And I wonder how doable it's going to be. I wonder if the subscription model as it is right now, I'm wondering how sustainable it is, if it's going to stay the same for the next 10, 20 years. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't envy you at all trying to do what you're doing and trying to build an audience. I mean, yeah, because I think you do have to do the fucking shameless self-promotion, right? I think it's like a requirement in these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably a mix of everything you guys have said, and I appreciate you indulging, into that and everything.
It's not indulging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just.
This is a platform that you have curated, sir.
Yep.
And I know it's a compounding thing, like the whole reason we're here talking on the Blue Wire Network is because, I'd put in that work with Dynamic Leaders those, 3 or 4 years before and showed that I could build a podcast, and everything. That didn't happen overnight. I remember, and I've thought about this before, like I had forever like 50 downloads a month. And I would regularly release like 4 podcasts every single month. So, not a lot of downloads per episode. And, I don't know what it was, cross marketing, different things like that. Just the consistency, a lot of different factors I'm sure added up to it, but eventually like I started to see numbers in the thousands and then 2000s and everything. And I was like, okay. And it motivates you and you want to keep going or whatever. And I did, I parlayed it into this and, for us and everything. So I know I'm early in my journey and maybe I'm trying to like, skip over the hard work and the grinding aspect of everything.
No. Don't say you're skipping it. You are doing it. You are putting in the hours. Like,
I am doing it.
You're fucking selling yourself short right now. Stop it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He's doing the thing that he said he didn't want to do anymore. I gotta yell at him.
Yes.
Right? Come on.
I'm just gonna keep you like I'm gonna give you a little two-way like walkie-talkie for lack of a better word, and I'm gonna have it like in my ear, and every time you hear that like my literal conscious. Like when I have doubts or whatever, you're just gonna be like, stop it. Like just do that to me every single time, Matt.
As long as you don't like start using me to yell at your kids, like
yeah,
I'll do the walkie-talkie for the yelling at the kids. I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Too good. Well, I took us over the hour mark, and I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to get at, but
nothing that can't be saved for next time, I think. Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Treehouse is great. Root and Branch, which was actually the only brewery I planned on visiting last weekend, is also great.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Long Island. That's the one I wanted to go to start, and then Treehouse kind of just came out of it, but all good.
It's an amazing trip.
The concert we saw was Yellow Card and Third Eye Blind.
Oh, right. I meant to ask. Okay.
At Jones Beach. Yeah.
They came to Charlotte a couple weeks ago.
It was a good show.
Were those like Sam's favorite kind of bands back in the day?
Sam loves Yellow Card.
Okay.
There's
she
a place
has
off Ocean Avenue.
Yeah, that's the one song everyone knew. She has Yellow Card earrings. They're
Oh my god.
they're
Amazing.
pics that she caught from Yellow Card when she saw them at Warped Tour way back in the day.
Sam went to Warped Tour?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god,
yeah.
that's hilarious.
She was like at one of the first Warped
I
Tours.
can't believe
and saw
it.
Yellow Card.
Sam, I kindly request that you, well, actually Matt can probably set you up, but future date, come on the podcast, talk about this.
That's amazing.
She's got some really good stories from how she got those pics and her friends and what she saw and what she experienced. And also shout out to Papa Urbanski, Irby there, who was there also, accompanying them as they went to the early days of Warped Tour. So
yeah,
lots of good. I would put an endorsement in to get her on the podcast too. I'm going to work on that there. But lots of good stories there. But yeah, so she turned the pics that she was able to fight people off to get from that show, from the band, into earrings.
Amazing.
That she was wearing them at the show. Yeah,
now,
that's awesome.
Really quick follow-up question, Matt. So there was one song you said that by Yellow Card that everyone knew, the one Colin was singing, right? That was the one song everyone knew. Where in the set list was it?
It was the final song.
It was. Okay. I was curious with a band like that, what they would choose to do for that.
Well, so the complaint here
now, Matt, do you know?
Last year was the first year they had toured in a long, long time, and
but I'm saying they haven't put out any albums recently, so they're just a touring band.
I'm not sure. Sam said they played a lot of new stuff this time. So,
okay.
Yeah, they were like pleasantly surprised last year. I remember a couple reports saying the lead singer was like, "We didn't realize you guys wanted to see us this much, so we're gonna keep doing this."
That's right. Yeah, they toured last year too. They were in Charlotte last year. Yeah.
Well, and in a somber note, right? That was the show that we were supposed to see the day that I found out that I had to go back to get my my third surgery. To get the day I found out the infection was there was the day,
right.
And so I got home and I was like, we could still see the show, and Sam was like, we're not having fun tonight. Like no. Like we have more things to worry about, more important things to worry about than going to a concert. So
this is how I know, Matt, you'll be good for me because you've had Sam, and she was great for you. So now it's your turn to help me. I'm being selfish again. You help me.
Keep being selfish. So yeah, we saw that. We saw Third Eye Blind. I have to say,
I'll never let you go.
I was going to say, what's their famous one? Okay.
That or Jumper.
Jumper, yes.
Or Semi-Charmed Kind of Life.
Oh, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life. Okay, that's a great one. I love that one.
Yeah. So that was what they ended their set with, was Semi-Charmed Life, and then Never Let You Go was their encore song. So
okay.
But yeah, Jumper. I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Super sad song.
We could start out all the lives you were living in.
You go back into the really look into the
I would understand.
Oh my god. Put in a fucking warning for the listeners.
Yeah.
for how loud that was gonna get.
If you go back into the files of like the '90s hits and whatever, so many of them are about suicide or about dying or whatever. It was like a
drugs.
dark time.
Yeah. Like, lots of song about drugs from the. But I will say, if you go like Pandora or I guess maybe Spotify these days now, summer hits of the '90s, fucking bangers, all bangers. just put that radio station. I want to hear summer hits of the '90s, all bangers.
Amazing.
So, but yeah, it was good. And I'll say, lead singer sounded good. I know he's apparently an asshole, but lead singer sounded good. Lead guitarist sounded really good.
Nice.
Like, I was impressed at how good he and how like the musicality and everything. Like very, very good. A lot of fun. Beers were expensive, like $20 a piece.
Wow,
but,
Jesus.
Aside from that, they were big beers. They were stovepipes, but still, it was fun.
Nice.
We did some parking lot beers. Technically, Jones Beach is a state park, and we weren't supposed to, but we kind of just pretended we were drinking out of like we had the cardboard coffee cups that we were just drinking out. It was good. It was a good time.
Awesome.
So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right, boys. Any shout outs before we go?
I
know Matt's got his goodbye rung up, but
yeah. I don't know if I got any shout outs. Shout outs to the staff at Treehouse for not even blinking when I bought way too much beer and just rolled with it.
Hope you got a lot of points on your credit card for that.
Oh yeah, you better believe I'm going to be redeeming that cash back to put towards offsetting the cost of all the shit I spent last week. But...
Ethan, anything?
No, nothing over here.
Hey, Brother Jeremy, when's your album come out?
Yeah. Speaking of Brother Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, I think soon. He posted about it recently.
Also, I say that flippantly. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, so like keep grinding. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Brother Jeremy, I texted today.
He wants to come on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then he can come on whenever. But the main character in my book, I had her originally in a scene smoking a joint, and I was just reading something recently about microdosing, and then I remembered that Brother Jeremy knows a thing or two about microdosing, and
from talking to other people.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I don't even know what the lingo is or whatever. So I just texted him. I was like, how do I say she's microdosing without sounding like a complete loser?
Man.
Something to that effect.
So
and he helped me out big time there. So another shout out to Brother Jeremy. And I will also give a shout out to my niece. Everybody who's listening to this podcast by now, she will have turned 1. Her birthday is tomorrow. So shout out to my niece Sadie, and I guess shout out to brother Danny and sister-in-law Kayla for congrats on getting to a year with a kid. It's a big milestone.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sadie.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to send my next box of beer intended for you, Colin, to Jeremy.
Yeah.
Here is your payment.
Yeah.
You get Colin's beers. Here you go.
Yeah. I would not say no. He's definitely earned it. All right, boys. Well, we are, and Matt
wearing a dumb hat.
That was it?
Yeah, it took me a little bit.
I thought it was something better.
Oh no! We are wearing dumb hats.